The evening sun was low over the small town of Greendale. Golden light fell on the old houses, the dusty roads, and the little gardens that lined every street. In one corner house lived Ethan Cole, a quiet man who spent most of his days fixing things that no one else cared about. He liked plants, silence, and the smell of soil after rain. But that evening, something strange waited for him among the flowers. Ethan worked in his backyard, trimming dead leaves and cleaning the old pipes that ran through the garden. The pipes were from his grandfather's time, rusty and half buried in the earth. He had been meaning to replace them for years, but like everything else in his life, it never felt urgent. As he wiped sweat from his forehead, he turned the garden tap. Nothing came at first, only a hiss of air, then brown water. He let it run until it cleared, then bent down to take a sip. The water was cold, too cold and sharp against his tongue. For a moment he thought it tasted sweet, but also metallic like lightning trapped in rain. He swallowed again and the world tilted. A small pain ran up his neck behind his eyes. Like a thread pulling tight, he stood quickly, coughing. Weird, he muttered, shaking his head. Then he heard it. A whisper, faint and distant inside his mind. It wasn't a word at first, just a sound, like someone breathing underwater. He looked around, heart racing. The garden was empty. The neighbor's dog barked far away. Wind rustled through the trees. He laughed nervously. "I'm hearing things," he said. But the voice came again, clearer this time, soft and calm. "You have no idea what you just became." Ethan froze, the hose still in his hand, water spilling onto the grass. He turned in every direction, searching for someone. Anyone, there was no one, only silence. His heartbeat grew faster. The air around him felt heavy, thick like fog. He tried to move, but his legs felt weak. Then light began to crawl under his skin, faint blue lines tracing across his veins. He stared at his hands, terrified. "What is happening to me?" he whispered, the voice replied. "Transformation begins," the garden blurred around him, colors melting together. He fell to his knees, gasping. As the ground seemed to hum, every sound in the world sharpened. The buzz of insects, the hum of electricity from the streetlights, even the heartbeat of a bird on the fence. It was too much, too loud, too alive. He covered his ears, but the sounds were inside him. Not outside. Then everything went black. When he opened his eyes again, it was night. He was lying on the grass, the stars above him brighter than he had ever seen. His whole body ached, but he felt strangely alive. He sat up slowly, breathing deeply, and realized something. He could see the air moving. Tiny glowing particles floated everywhere. Dancing like dust in sunlight, he reached out, and the particles moved toward his fingers, drawn to him. The voice spoke again. Gentle now. "Welcome, host." Ethan stood, unsteady. His reflection glimmered faintly in the garden window. His eyes were glowing with a soft blue light. He stumbled back, frightened. "This isn't real," he said. "I'm dreaming." But when he touched the metal tap, it pulsed like it was alive. The whole garden seemed to respond to his heartbeat, leaves trembling even without wind. He dropped the hose and ran inside, slamming the door behind him. Inside his small house, everything felt different. The clock ticked slower, or maybe he was moving faster. He could feel the hum of electricity through the walls. His phone lying on the table suddenly turned on by itself. The screen flickered, showing static, then strange glowing symbols he couldn't read. Lines of light danced across it, forming patterns that looked almost like language. Then words appeared in English: "Signal detected, synchronization in progress." Ethan grabbed the phone, but it burned hot, forcing him to drop it. It fell to the floor and cracked. Still glowing faintly, he backed away, breathing hard. "What are you?" he shouted. The voice inside his head replied calmly, "We are what you will become." He stumbled to the mirror in the hallway. Staring at himself, his reflection looked normal, until he blinked. For a split second, he saw another face behind his own. Not human. Silver eyes, smooth skin, and a faint smile. He screamed and fell backward, knocking over a chair. When he looked again, the face was gone. He sat there on the floor, shaking. His mind raced, trying to find reason, but nothing made sense. Was he poisoned, hallucinating, dying? He looked down at his hands again. The blue vein still glowed faintly. The whisper returned. "The connection is stable. Do not resist." He pressed his palms to his ears. "Get out of my head." But the voice didn't stop. It only grew calmer. "The garden water was not water. It was seed, ancient and waiting. You are chosen." Lightning flashed outside the window. thunder rolling through the night. For a moment, the lights in his house flickered, then died. In the darkness, his body glowed softly like a lantern. He stood trembling, surrounded by shadows. The voice whispered one last time, "They will come for you now." And then, silence, only the sound of rain on the roof. Ethan looked down at his glowing hands. He didn't know what he had become, but deep inside, something alive and something not human had already awakened. Morning light crept through the curtains, painting soft gold lines across the room. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, his head heavy, his heartbeat too loud. The memory of the night hit him all at once, in the glowing skin. The voice, the storm. He sat up fast, breathing hard. The bedsheet tangled around him. The house was quiet, but it did not feel empty anymore. He stood and walked toward the mirror again. Afraid to look, his reflection stared back. But now faint light shimmered beneath his skin, like stars trapped inside his veins. He moved closer, his breath fogging the glass. When he blinked, blue light flashed across his eyes. Then faded, he touched his face, whispering, "What am I?" A soft hum filled the room, the same low vibration he felt last night. The phone on the table lit up again. Its screen cracked but alive. Strange symbols danced across it, rearranging into words: host status, stable, synchronization 87%. He dropped the phone, backing away. "Leave me alone," he shouted. But the voice came again, calm and distant. "Ethan Cole, adaptation is complete, soon you will understand." He grabbed his jacket and ran outside, hoping the air would clear his head. The street was silent, too silent, even the dogs were gone. He looked around. Every sound felt sharp, every motion clearer than normal. He could hear the hum of power lines, the beating wings of birds far above, the footsteps of a man walking 2 streets away. It was impossible, yet he could feel it all. He stumbled into his garden again, the hose still lying on the grass, the old pipe dripping slow drops of silver water. He knelt beside it, staring. The water was glowing faintly in daylight. Like liquid light, he touched a single drop, and warmth spread through his arm. Suddenly, the nearby dead rosebush began to move. Its dry branches straightening, new leaves grew in seconds, flowers opening wide as if spring had come early. Ethan fell back, shocked. "No way," he whispered. The voice inside spoke softly. "You are connected to life source, the seed flows through you." He shook his head. "I don't want this." "It has already chosen you," the voice answered. He ran toward his shed, searching for tools, for anything normal, but the lights inside flickered as soon as he entered, the metal shelves vibrating with his pulse. He touched a broken radio and it came alive, voices whispering through static in a language he could not understand. Then, among the noise, one word formed clearly. "Guardian?" Ethan froze. The radio hissed and a chill went through his chest. He didn't know why, but that word felt heavy, ancient and true. By afternoon, strange things began happening around town. People's electronic devices flickered, birds flew in circles, and a deep tone vibrated through the sky for a few seconds. No one could explain it, but every camera and phone that recorded it pointed to the same direction: Ethan's neighborhood. He didn't know yet, but satellites had already picked up his signal. Somewhere far away, inside a military research base, a scientist looked at the readings and whispered, "We found another one." Back at his house, Ethan tried to rest, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw visions. A great city made of metal and light floating in space. Towers shaped like living trees, beings made of silver energy walking among them. One of them turned toward him and said, "You carry our memory, protect it." He woke up gasping, sweat dripping down his face. "What are you doing to me?" he cried. "We are awakening you," the voice replied gently. The lights in his room pulsed with each word. Ethan grabbed the phone again. "Who is we?" "We are the Onari," the voice said. "The first builders of life. Our seed was hidden in your world long ago. You drank the key." Ethan's hand shook. "So I'm infected, you are evolved," the voice corrected. Before he could answer, a sharp buzzing filled the air outside. He looked through the window and saw black drones hovering over his garden. Their red light scanning the ground, his chest tightened. "They found me." He could hear faint voices through the drones. Men shouting commands, one of them said clearly, "Subject confirmed containment protocol." Ethan backed away, heart pounding. "What do I do?" he whispered. The voice said calmly, "Survive. The drones fired small darts through the window, glass shattering. Ethan ducked, crawling across the floor. His body glowed again, reacting to danger. A burst of blue energy exploded from his hands without warning. The air cracked and the drones fell to the ground. Silent and smoking, Ethan stared at his glowing palms. Shaking, he hadn't meant to do it, but it felt natural. The voice whispered again. The Guardian has awakened. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ethan knew more would come. He grabbed his father's old truck keys and ran out the back door. The sky above shimmered with strange clouds, like silver threads twisting in sunlight as he drove away. He saw in the rearview mirror a single figure standing in his garden, a tall man in a dark coat watching him, speaking softly into a communicator. "Target is moving," the man said. "Prepare the team." Ethan pressed the pedal harder, the road stretching endlessly before him. He didn't know where to go, but the voice guided him. "Head north. To the mountains. There is a place where we once landed," he whispered under his breath. "Why me?" The voice answered, "Because you were the first to drink the water and the first to listen." The sun began to set behind him, casting long shadows over the empty road. He drove toward the unknown, feeling something inside him grow stronger with every mile. He didn't understand it yet, but Ethan Cole was no longer just a man. He had become the link between two worlds, and both were now awake. The night had fallen again, deep and endless. Ethan's old truck roared down the mountain road, headlights cutting through mist and rain. The world outside looked unreal, filled with moving shadows and glowing clouds. He gripped the wheel tightly, his heartbeat matching the rhythm of the thunder. The voice inside his head whispered directions, calm and steady. "Keep driving, you are almost there." After hours, he reached a narrow path that led into an abandoned quarry. The ground was covered with strange black stones that shimmered faintly in the dark. As he stepped out of the truck, the air felt heavy, humming with energy. His veins glowed again, reacting to the place. "This is it," he whispered. "This is where you wanted me to go," the voice replied. "Yes. Here is the first anchor of the Onari." He looked around. Confused, the quarry looked empty, only rock and silence. But when he stepped closer to the center, the ground beneath him pulsed. Blue light spread out in circular waves, like water rippling under his feet. Then, from the center of the circle, a small metallic cube rose slowly from the soil. It floated in front of him, spinning, glowing brighter with every turn. Ethan stepped back, shielding his eyes. "What is that?" The voice replied. "It is a memory core, a message from the past." The cube stopped spinning, light expanding from it, forming a glowing hologram. Ethan saw an alien world, silver mountains, twin suns, oceans that shone like mirrors. A tall figure stood in the light, with eyes like Lyra's from another story, bright and infinite. The being spoke, its voice deep yet warm. "If you hear this, the seed has chosen you. You are our bridge, we are the Onari. The first life we built worlds, we guided stars. But our war destroyed everything." Ethan stood frozen, the hologram shifting to show giant machines falling from the sky, cities collapsing and stars turning dark. "We sent the seed to a safe world," the being continued, "a place untouched by war. We called it Terra, you call it Earth in your time. The seed will awaken, it will merge with one who can endure its power." The figure looked straight at Ethan, though it was only a recording. "If you are watching this, that person is you." Ethan's chest tightened, his mind spinning. He took a shaky breath. "So I'm some kind of chosen one?" "No," the voice answered softly in his mind. "You are not chosen. You are connected." Before he could say anything, the cube flashed red, the hologram flickered, showing new images, Earth cities burning, soldiers in black armor marching, and the same man Ethan saw before in his garden, the one in the dark coat. The voice of the alien recording trembled. "They will come for the seed. They will use it to rule. Do not let them take it." Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the quarry. Helicopter blades, engines roaring above, bright searchlights cutting through the fog. Ethan turned toward the noise, his eyes glowing brighter. "They found me again," he whispered. The voice inside him said urgently, "The message must not fall. Take the core." Ethan grabbed the floating cube, which melted instantly into his hand, merging with his skin like liquid light. The helicopters descended lower, soldiers rappelling down with weapons ready. A voice shouted through a megaphone, "Ethan Cole, surrender, you are under quarantine." He backed away, shaking his head. You don't understand what's happening. They fired warning shots. Bullets sparking off the rocks, something inside him snapped. A shockwave burst from his body, knocking soldiers off their feet, shattering the ground. Blue fire burned around him like a living storm. The air filled with whispers, thousands of voices speaking as one. Ethan raised his hands, trying to control it. But the energy obeyed emotion, not thought. Every light in the quarry exploded, and the helicopters spun out of control. Crashing into the hills, he fell to his knees, gasping. What am I doing? The inner voice said quietly. You are waking the seed's power. It reacts to your fear, he whispered. Then how do I stop it? By not being afraid. He closed his eyes. Breathing slowly, the light around him calmed, shrinking until it faded completely. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned across the ridge. But he was alive, and for the first time, the voice inside him sounded almost proud. You survived your first test. You are learning. Ethan looked down at his hand. The cube's mark now glowed like a star under his skin. What's next? He asked quietly. The voice replied. Now you must send the message. The Onari are far, but they will hear you. He frowned. Send it how? Your world has the machines, your body has the key. He realized what it meant. He could use any device. The seed inside him could speak to all networks, all systems. He took a deep breath and walked toward the old transmitter building near the quarry. The door was half broken, dust everywhere. He placed his glowing hand on the console, and the screens flickered to life. Lines of alien code appeared, mixing with Earth's data streams. The voice whispered, Now say it. Ethan spoke softly. This is Earth. I am Ethan Cole. We are not alone. The machine sent the signal skyward, a pulse of light racing through clouds into space. Miles above the planet, satellites began to fail, each one touched by a strange frequency, and far beyond the solar system, something vast and old turned its eyes toward Earth. Ethan felt it, the return signal, soft, deep, full of power. He looked up at the sky, whispering, They heard me. But the voice inside him was no longer calm. Yes, but others heard you too. The clouds above began to twist, forming a spiral of light. A new sound filled the air. Not thunder, but something alive, something vast. Ethan stepped back, his eyes wide. What's happening? The voice whispered one final line before fading. The Onari are coming, but so are their enemies. The wind howled through the quarry, lightning turning the sky blue-white. Ethan stood in the center of it all, glowing like a beacon. The first human to call the stars, and the first to be answered. The next night the sky would not stay still. Clouds twisted like living smoke and lights flashed high above the mountains. Ethan stood on the edge of the quarry, his hands still glowing from the signal he had sent. He felt the air vibrate as if the world itself was breathing. The voice inside him whispered only one word. They're coming, faraway sirens wailed. Helicopters rose again, but Ethan was no longer afraid. He could feel every sound, every wave of energy, every pulse of power moving through the earth. It was as if the planet spoke to him in a language of thunder. He closed his eyes and whispered, I can hear them. The voice answered. Then listen closer. The sky split open. A crack of light stretching across the stars. From it fell a burning shape, slow and graceful like a meteor wrapped in silver flame. It landed beyond the ridge, shaking the ground. Ethan ran toward the glow, his heart pounding with both fear and wonder. He reached a wide valley, and there it was. A ship not built by any hand of earth. Smooth metal that flowed like water, edges shifting as if alive. Symbols ran along its surface, the same ones he had seen in his dreams. Steam hissed from vents and a door opened with a low hum. From the doorway stepped a figure made of light and shadow. Tall, calm, and silent, eyes glowing pale blue. Ethan froze, every instinct screaming to run, yet something inside him whispered, Stay. The being looked at him and spoke, its voice soft but echoing through his bones. Seed-bearer of Terra, you have awakened. Ethan swallowed hard. You're real. We are the Onari, the being said. And you are part of us now. He shook his head. I'm just a man. You were, the being replied. But the seed has woven you into the pattern of stars. Before he could ask more, engines roared behind him. Black armored trucks rushed into the valley, soldiers spilling out, weapons ready. The bright light of the ship reflected off their visors. A commander shouted, Contain the subject and secure the object. Ethan turned. Don't shoot, they're not our enemy. But the first blast of plasma tore through the night. The Onari raised a hand and the beam froze mid-air, light twisting around it like glass. With a gentle motion, the energy scattered into harmless sparks. The soldiers stopped in disbelief. Ethan stared. The alien's power felt peaceful, not violent, yet unstoppable. Then the being looked at him again. "Your kind fears what it cannot control. Do you fear us too?" Ethan shook his head. "No, but they will never understand unless someone tries." The Onari stepped forward, light forming wings behind its back. "Then you will speak for them," it said. "For humans and Onari must stand together or both will fall." Explosions tore through the valley as the soldiers fired again. Ethan felt heat rush through his veins, his body glowing brighter than ever before. Instinct took over. He lifted his hand and a shield of blue light spread in front of him. The blasts struck it and vanished. He turned toward the troops, shouting, "Stop! You don't know what you're doing!" But they kept firing, afraid of what they saw. The alien moved beside him, its voice calm. "Do not destroy them, teach them." Ethan nodded and focused, the shield expanding outward like a wave of wind. The soldiers were thrown back gently, their weapons short-circuiting. No one harmed. The valley fell silent again, smoke drifting upward like ghosts. From the ship another Onari appeared, smaller, carrying a sphere of white light. She placed it before Ethan, and it opened to show a holographic map of stars. "These are the coordinates of the enemy that hunts us both," she said. Ethan saw hundreds of red marks moving toward Earth. "They will come for the seed, and when they arrive, your world will burn unless it stands united." He looked at the glowing stars, then at the frightened soldiers still on the ground. "They won't believe me," he said quietly. "Then show them," the first Onari replied, placing a hand over his heart. A surge of light passed through him, and for a second he saw everything: the Earth from space, the hidden energy under its oceans, the life connecting every living thing. When the vision faded, he gasped. The alien smiled faintly. "Now you see as we do." Above them, new lights appeared in the sky, dark shapes moving between clouds. The Onari looked up, its glow dimming. "The hunters have found you," Ethan whispered. "Then we fight." "Yes," the voice in his head answered. "But remember who you fight for." The ground shook as the first enemy craft broke through the clouds. Thunder rolled across the mountains. The color of the sky turning crimson, Ethan stood beside the Onari ship, ready, his hands shining with the same silver-blue fire. For the first time since that drink from the garden pipe, he felt no fear, only purpose. He glanced at the alien beside him and said quietly, "Let's show them what humans can be." The Onari bowed its head. Humanity will remember this day. And as the first blasts of war lit the valley, Earth's sky carried two kinds of light, one born from stars far away, and one rising from a single man who was no longer just human. The valley burned beneath a sky of red light. Enemy ships screamed through the clouds like falling stars, their engines roaring with hate. Ethan stood between the Onari ship and the soldiers who had once hunted him. He could feel the world trembling under his feet, the air alive with power. The voice within whispered, "It begins." The first blast struck the ground near him, throwing smoke and dust into the air. He raised his hands and light burst from his palms, forming a shield that curved above the valley like glass. The soldiers behind him gasped, staring at the human who glowed brighter than fire. One of them whispered, "He's protecting us." Ethan looked back and nodded. No more fear. The Onari moved beside him, their bodies flickering between solid and light. "The hunters will not stop," they said. "But together we may end the chain." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then let's end it." Above, the largest of the enemy ships opened its core, a spinning storm of dark energy ready to erase the valley. Ethan could feel the pull of it inside his bones, a soundless roar that dragged at every atom of his body. The voice in his mind spoke once more. "You are the bridge. The seed chose you because you feel, because you care. Remember that." He closed his eyes, the shield fading as he stepped forward into the open. Wind tore through his hair, dust swirling like ghosts around him. He whispered, I was only a man once, I'm still him, and I will not let my world burn. Then he lifted his hands to the sky. The light that came from him was pure white, brighter than the sun yet gentle like dawn. It spread outward, touching every ship, every tree, every person watching. The hunters' weapons froze mid-fire, their metal shells cracking like ice under heat. The Onari ships shone in answer, their energy linking with his, forming a web of light that wrapped around the planet. For a heartbeat, the earth itself glowed blue and silver, a living star among stars. Ethan could see everything at once: the ocean currents, the roots of forests, the flow of air around mountains. He felt the pulse of the planet beating with his own heart. He whispered to the sky, "This is home." And the world whispered back, "We know." The enemy fleet tried to retreat, but the light reached them before they could escape. Their ships dissolved into mist, not destroyed, only unmade. Their hate simply gone. The Onari watched in silence as the light faded. When it was over, the valley was still, the storm gone, the sky clear and bright. Ethan knelt on the ground, his body dimming, the glow fading from his skin. He smiled weakly. "We did it." The nearest Onari approached him, kneeling beside him. "You did what no world has ever done. You turned war into peace." He laughed softly. "Guess humanity can learn fast." But his strength was leaving him. He looked at his hands, now only faintly shining. "What happens to me now?" The voice answered gently. "The seed returns to the stars, but part of it will stay in every drop of water in every life you saved." He nodded slowly. "That's enough." A bright beam from the Onari ship wrapped around him, lifting him gently from the ground. The soldiers below watched in silence, their weapons lowered, their faces filled with awe, as Ethan rose higher. His voice carried across the valley, calm and strong. "Protect this world, protect each other, because now you know what we are capable of." The beam turned white, then vanished into the morning sky. When the light cleared, only the faint shimmer of dust remained, falling like silver snow. The Onari ship rose slowly, its engines humming a song that echoed through the mountains. One of the aliens looked down and said quietly, "He became more than we ever were, and yet never stopped being human." Years later, people would speak of the night the sky burned blue. They called it the Day of Ascension. And every time rain fell on the gardens of Greendale, the water glowed faintly for a moment before turning clear again, as if the world still remembered. The man who drank from an old pipe and became its guardian,